Hello again, Ajay Sharma this side, and taking forward from the last video where we talked about, remember, we talked about relationships, right? And in the last video, we talked about what are the different events, the kind of events that can really speaking create unfortunate, unexpected situations that harm relationships. Doesn't matter what type of relationship we are talking about. So just go back and check out for yourself, why did it happen in the first place? It happens for various reasons. In majority of the situations, it happens because we act on impulse. We don't empathize with the situation of the other person. So one of the spouses would have come from travels or came back after a tough day at the office, and others at home immediately want attention, perhaps. Give that person a little bit chance, time to relax. Of course, you could be having your own situations which require immediate attention. So unless it's medical situation, perhaps it can wait. To give time. Really speaking, before having an important discussion, the time lapse itself can help a lot. So you see, your teenage child looking very, very unhappy, withdrawn. The immediate step would be, oh my God, let me just talk to her. But perhaps the right approach would be at that particular moment just to acknowledge the teenage child's presence. Give that space that the child needs. Speak to the parents who are at home. And if it's a nuclear family, perhaps speak to the maid or the other spouse who's at home. Or maybe nobody's at home and only the teenage child is alone. But either way, try to get, if possible, a third person observation on what could have been transpired. Is the child withdrawn for a long period of time? What happened? It would be wrong to immediately charge towards a child and ask teenage child and ask, smile, happy. We give you everything in this world and still you are unhappy. Where's the joy? Oh, you know what? At your age, we were happy, we had nothing, and you have everything and still unhappy? Well, times have changed. The situation and challenges that a teenager face are very different from the challenges that you face. There is more awareness thanks to social media. There are more peer group challenges than you faced. Give the child the time. Be friends with the child than being a parent. Because the more we try to be parent to a young child, to a teenage or an adult child, the more we will see that they start going away from us. When they see this is a person who is willing to listen to us, not try to force into our world, they'll be more receptive to your guidance, your counsel. In fact, they will come themselves because they have confidence, faith in you. They trust you. They'll come on their own with the situation that they confront with. Maybe it's lower marks, the bad marks in the exam that they just did. Maybe it's a love that, is the most often thing. They feel that they're being neglected. Or let's talk about the situation about the parents, the events about the parents. Of course, we forgot if the parents are living with you. In fact, I often like to say we live with our parents. Parents don't live with us. Because they are the ones who brought us into the world, not the other way around. So we are living with our parents, and maybe parents are feeling neglected. Now, here your approach could be absolutely different from the approach that you had for your teenage child or your adult child or the young child. Here perhaps the right approach would be, when you enter home, spend those 5 minutes or 2 minutes in acknowledging their presence. Make them feel important rather than rushing straight to your room. If you're busy and you're a nuclear family, your parents are living in foreign land or in different state or in different part of the city, perhaps you could make that call to them while you're on way to home. They got the attention that they wanted. They got their 2 minutes, 5 minutes of chat. Why should it be they who should be calling you up? Always. One learning I can share with you, and I have followed it through my life, and it has helped a lot. None of us can be so busy in our life that we cannot take a family call. Doesn't matter what position you occupy. You could be CEO, you could be a director, you could be a CEO, or you could be a simple executive. You could be a simple anybody in your life. You could maybe not at workspace, maybe you're just out marketing, selling, buying something for your own self or for your friends, perhaps gift, or you're at a birthday party of a friend, or you're simply at an office party or at a kitty party. When you check on the mobile that it's a family member calling up, even if you're sitting in a board meeting, excuse yourself and say, I need to take this call. You may go out or you can take the call in everybody's presence, even if it's just to tell that family member, hey, is it something urgent? If it's not urgent, can I call you back? But take that call. Never disconnect a call from a family member or from a close friend. This is the worst way to really speaking, communicate with anybody whom you love in life, who is important in your life, whom you care for in your life. Following this simple principle itself can save so many relationships. It doesn't matter what type of relationship you're talking about. It doesn't matter. So, let's talk about an event that's unexpected, that requires attention. What could that event be? Maybe it's an event that's happening at your workplace. You see a team member who is in desperate state, who is howling, who is crying. Now, how do you deal with it? Because that's also a situation. Now it's an employer-employee situation, or it's a colleague situation. They also needs to be addressed. But something that you should not do, you cannot do, is try and address it in front of everybody, especially because these days we have open workspaces. The best would be try and get that particular person who is in some way or the other in a hyper state. Take that person, ensure that that person has a little bit of a private space where one can gather one's bearing and be prepared at least to have a chat, to talk in front of everybody, or really speaking, pull that person down for spoiling the office environment by crying, howling, or shouting is the worst way of dealing with this colleague or an employer-employer situation or a boss-colleague situation. That's not the right way at all. Siblings is the same way. The best of the sibling relationships, really speaking, can maintained by giving each other that mutual respect that one deserves. And here is one for the young couples. There's no limit to which you can make money. Something really that's impacting the relationships at a young level. Why does one get impatient? Because majority of young couples go into nuclear families, become nuclear families, choose to be nuclear families. Even if they are living with their parents in the initial stages, they go on for reasons of work. Maybe they got a job in another city, or for another reason, they become nuclear families sooner or later. But even if they are living with parents, doesn't matter. An agreement is required in between the couples as to what their priorities are. How many homes do you want to have? It's only one bed we need. It's not a must that, in your 20s or early 30s itself, that you must have an apartment in a plush new apartment building that everybody wants to have apartment in. It's not a must that you buy an expensive apartment that your salaries cannot afford, and even if you can afford right now, it takes away majority of your joint income, and you get into stress because the EMI has to go out. Who tells you you can start with a small car? You can have 2 small cars between the 2 spouses, rather than having 2, really speaking, sedans, and expensive sedans at that with high EMIs. Because more you demand out of the limited money that you are making, the more is going to be the stress on the income, the resulting expenses, the budget mismatch, and the relationship mismatch, and the relationship mess. Somewhere along the line, draw the lines. It's okay for your child not to be going to a school which you want to be identified only because of peer group pressure. There's no need. If the child can go to a school which is at a mid-level but provides good education, that's fine, but the fee is half. That's fine. That's another way through which you can make your relationships better. Act more for the purpose of maintaining peace at your home with your relationships, then really speaking, have a benchmark, peer group based benchmark with which you want to live your life. That's the worst way of living life. That's the best way of making your relationships a mess. Because the materialistic approach of having the maximalist approach rather than a minimalist approach to life is a sure recipe of having a relationship disaster. Avoid it. Because there's nothing more precious than happiness at home. There's nothing more important than happiness at work. There's nothing more important than inner peace. There's nothing more important than self-awareness, self-actualization. There's nothing more important than positive affirmations. All these things combined together is what is going to make relationships work. Right? You have any more questions? Please write to our experts. Visit relationshipmess.com. Write to experts. They will try to get back to you at the earliest, and rest assured that your question will stay anonymous, and of course you will know you asked that question. Your answer will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for your attention. Keep coming back to this channel because we are going to continue to talk about relationships made simpler, relationships made happier. Good day.